Alright, so in this video we'll be talking about eparam, what it does, how it works, and where you can use it in myCNC. So what an eparam does is it allows us to, while launching, let's say, a hardware PLC, it allows us to also send some sort of information to it, in addition to just a straight up simple command. To launch a hardware PLC, it allows us to also send in some sort of a variable alongside with it. And you can do it from your G-code or from, let's say, your manual input, let's say through your on-screen keyboard if you're typing it in. So this will be a little clearer once I actually show you an example. The very simple example of this will be our port set and port clear commands. So let's say I'd like to run some sort of a command from within my G-code or perhaps manually that will simply set on an output port. Let's say right here. I'd like to send a command to turn on output 9. And what I'll do then is I'll use this existing hardware PLC, which is our hardware PLC M62. And all it does is it takes the eparam that you're sending to it, so this value, and it does a port set command, so it will turn on an output with the same number as the eparam. And then similarly you also have M63, which will take that eparam and it will clear it, so it will turn off that output. So let's show you an example of that, what that might look like. Let's say M62P9, so this will be the eparam, confirm, and now we have this on. Let's say we'd like to turn it off, M63, if you remember that was the port clear command, P9 is our eparam, and now this is off right here, as you can see. So that's the very basics of your eparam, but you can also use it for a lot more, of course. So let's say if you are launching some sort of a command from one of your buttons, so let's say I'm launching MO3 right here, I can see that I have assigned, or the profile has assigned, an existing eparam to this button, so which is MO3 and then this global variable 5524. And if you consult our documentation, 5524 is our spindle speed. So we'll be launching the MO3 command, hardware PLC, and then we'll be sending the spindle speed into that hardware PLC. And if we look at it within our PLC list, we can see that we have this eparam, which we are assigning to some variable, and then we are doing something to that variable, and we're sending the DAG, etc., etc., etc. But the point is, you can use this eparam within a much more complex hardware PLC. And last but not least, let's say, what if you don't want to use one, but you need two eparams? So for example, as is in your homing procedures, so homing X, you have this macro, and within it you are going to be launching some sort of a hardware PLC, M89 in this case, and then you'd like to send in two pieces of information, essentially. So you'd like to send in a piece of information that says monitor this particular port, so this input port, and then you'd like to also say look for this particular state. So it will be either a 1 or a 0, so a port can be either on and off. And essentially this will be the two pieces of information that you're sending, so this will be the P parameter and the L parameter in addition to that, which you haven't seen before. And if you go into M89, then within it, what you have is you have this block of code, these two lines. So you'd have an input and a state. So the input is our low order section, and this is our high order section. You don't actually need to know C or C++ programming to see how this operates, but if you do, it does help a little bit. You have the right shift, you're looking at the first 16 bits, etc., etc. But even if you don't know any C programming, all you need to know is that you need to have these two lines within your hardware PLC, so this and this, which you are assigning to some variable. So in my case, it's input and state. And to illustrate this a little bit closer, I've created a small sample hardware PLC called M655, which will essentially take in the P and the L parameter. It will assign the P parameter to port 1 and the L parameter to port 2. So these are just variables within my hardware PLC. And then it will port set both port 1 and port 2. So my P and my L parameter. And then it will simply exit. And if we go and take a look at how that actually works, we will see that what we have here, navigate to the on-screen keyboard and have your M655. Let's say I'd like to set on output number 5 and 6. So let's say L5, P6, and you can see that these have just come on. And this will be very useful in cases where you need two essentially pieces of information to send through to your hardware PLC. You can use this, this block of code right here. And if you'd like to find out more information, particularly on the M03 procedure and just in general more information on the eparam or PLC programming, feel free to consult our documentation at docs.pvautomation.com. Thank you for watching.